Hi everybody, it's Deirdre, and I am getting ready to do a workshop in Toronto on self-compassion, and it really brought home to me the importance and necessity of it for ourselves. And I just came back from teaching in Paris, and I saw like the incredible connection that people have with each other, and how the longing for connection is so strong. And what we also, all of us see, is what happens, the despair, the disappointment, the frustrations that come when relationships don't work out well. And how do we be kind to ourselves and be compassionate with ourselves when there's ruptures, so that we can actually have the kind of relationships we want? So that's what I wanted to talk a little bit here about it, and begin to sort of flush that out. And if you have questions, comments, I'd love to hear, because that really informs me about how I can shape the teaching for you. So if you think about it for yourself, what are the main causes of the places where you get depressed or anxious, frustrated? What are the domains of experience that they tend to fall in? And I would guess, if you are anything like so many of the people that I'm with, or that know yourself inside yourself, often it's around relationship, isn't it? And it's part of the reason why is we are so hardwired for connection. And that if we don't have that kind of connection, we feel despairing, or we feel frightened that life isn't going to be okay, or we worry about things. Of course, we can also be in connection and run away at the same time, right? Relationships by itself can also be scary. So it's something that we have to look at. How do we be kind to ourselves in that process? So I was looking at some of the notes that I had as I was thinking about this, thinking about places. How do we support ourselves and not getting depressed, not shutting down, not cutting off, not thinking that nobody can help me? How do we learn to reach toward connection, and reach toward connection in a way that is satisfying and nourishing for both parties, not just for myself? And that includes being connected inside myself. How do I reach for connection with myself in a way that benefits me? So if I'm mean to myself, if I'm beating myself up, then am I going to feel like I want to be close to myself? Probably, if you're anything like me or other people, it's not the case. So the question is, how do we do that? How do we cultivate that sense of deep kindness and consideration and compassion that comes? One of the things that compassion-focused therapy does really well is look at the different flows of compassion. And that when we cultivate these different flows of compassion, it gets easier to have them in our different domains. Like compassion for myself, is it self-compassion? Am I compassionate to others? It's flowing that compassion out. But then the other question is, how do I, and am I able to receive the compassion from others, the kindness from others? And I actually think this is one of the hardest and most complicated places for any one of us, is how do I receive? How do I take it in? I was just looking at we have a Becoming Safely Embodied Skills course happening right now, and there's so many powerful inquiries that people are in, some explorations they're doing. And a lot of it comes out of, like, how do we deal with our triggers, right? And one of the things that I've also learned from Paul Gilbert of Compassion Focused Therapy is that there are these 3 different drive systems that we have. One is a threat system, which we all know so well, is that threat system keeps us engaged and activated and tense and hypervigilant a lot, and then often we collapse around it. So there's that threat system that's there. How do we respond to threat? How do we respond to threats inside of ourselves? How do we respond to threats in relationship and connection? Another whole place of exploration is, how do we deal with our excitements, our drive, our motivations, the places where we move our energy fast forward ahead, trying to activate something. And the other third part of the 3 circles, the motivational systems, is a sense of contentment and being at ease. And one of the things I've learned that has actually been really, really helpful for me is that the threat system and the drive system, so those 2 systems are part of the sympathetic nervous system. They activate us, they get us going. Whereas the contented system is a much more calmer, it's a state of well-being, a place of where we can rely on connection for ease and well-being inside ourselves and with others. And one of the fascinating things is that if we are, even in our excitement and our drive energy, it's much easier to jump from that to threat than it is if we're in a contented place, if we're in a calmer place. Because when we're in a calmer place, we're in a more, what we call the parasympathetic, we're in a much more relaxed, easier, more mellow state. And so it's harder to go from there to the hyperactive places. So what has that really be an exploration for all of us is, how do we cultivate a state of quietness and calmness? How do we break apart, unpack the disasters of our mind, the worries of our bodies, so that we can be in greater ease, so we can be in a greater sense of kindness. So, one of the things that we can all do is practice in small ways a sense of kindness and compassion for ourselves, for others, and then practicing, how do I receive it? How do I actually receive and take in a little bit more kindness? Now, one way to do that is literally to see, how much kindness can I take in? How much compassion can I receive? And we all think, well, I'm not getting enough, right? But if all we need is a small little tiny moment of it. In the Becoming Safely Embodied Skills, we talk about a thimbleful. How do I take a thimbleful of that and take it in? Not just keep it out there, not just have it as a concept, but how do I literally absorb it in, make it so small that I can just drink it in very satisfyingly, like it's simple to take in. So if you think about it, what would kindness and compassion look like for you, right? How would you know that? What would the elements of it be? What would the sensory pieces of compassion be? Might it be warmth? Might it be a sense of a slight smile? Somebody described the other day a sense of patience, right? The sense of waiting without agenda. We're each going to have our own way. And if we can find out and name those small bits, that's a piece of mindfulness. If I can take those small bits, then how do I concentrate on it? Like focus so much on, oh, that's what that would look like. And then literally draw it in and just see if can I take it in just a little bit more. Like, where in my body do I feel blocked? And how can I bring that sense of compassion and kindness right into that place of blockness? Like, how does it meet inside? How do I take it in just a millimeter, a tiny inch more, so that I can fill up with it and absorb even more. So those are the things I'd love to see if you can practice and see what happens. I'd love to hear, because that's part of how I learn and grow and develop myself, is to be in relationship with you and see what works best. Oh, I see that Donna's here, and you said you did your trip. Can't wait till later to tell you about the kindness and compassion that happened. Wow. And Donna, if she's feeling safe and comfortable, can tell you she took a really big leap. She decided to reach towards something and try something out she wasn't sure what that would be like, right? And when that happens, all the old fears are there, like, you shouldn't do this, turn back, it's not safe, right? Anytime we do something, and really, if we think about it, our life really is a hero or a heroine's journey. It's always stepping into the unknown. And so when we do, we're anticipating out of our past to be met with disaster, to be met with disappointment, to be met with things not working out. And here's a wonderful experience of Donna saying, I did it. I did something I was afraid of doing. And I can't wait to tell you about the kindness and compassion that happened, which is fantastic. Way to go, Donna. I love hearing about that from all of you, because taking those steps into the unknown is always hard. It's hard for all of us. How do we do that? How do we explore ourselves? How do we risk being in the world in a new way and not only expect kindness and compassion, but then learn how to take it in and receive it? So yay for you, Donna, yay for all of us for trying and practicing and one step at a time. And that's really what it's all about. So anyone else have any wins from the week that you want to share? I'd love to hear if you take a moment to pop that into the chat right there. If not, we'll see it after the video is posted. But as you know, I do love to hear. Yeah, big thank you to you, Donna. That's great. And I know others of you are always doing that, taking steps, learning to change your mind, your heart, your body, each small increment. And boy, does that deserve a lot of gold stars, a lot of stickers, a lot of Olympic medals, and got to figure out a way to give that to you digitally, because it's so important that each of you know that to be celebrated for each of the steps that you take. So, my dears, lots of love and blessings. Yeah, Harbor Amy is saying so brave, Donna. It's so true, right? Taking those steps. I know that you do the same thing, Harbor Amy, so good for you. Every one of you I know does. So big, big, big thrills. Yeah, see, Donna, you can't contain that excitement, that thrill, right? The thrill of knowing. Yeah, right. So keep savoring that, drawing that in even closer. The parts that get afraid, send that well-being that happens. Wow, I did it. Send that to every part of your body, mind, and heart that feels that, so that it becomes a new entrenched, new embedded way of being. And I look forward to hearing about it on the other side. All right, my dears. Great to be with you as always.